Hey guys, today I'm going to show you guys how to create this 2D beady eyes as shown in this example. This is a little technique that I developed for an upcoming short film. It's not the only way to do 2D beady eye rig, but it's a simple example that I think most people can follow, so I just want to share with you guys. Alright, so let's get started. Just before I start rigging, I want to show you guys how the rig works. So let's show all the controls here. We have some controls for the head. We have some controls for the position of the eyes, so we have translation. We can also rotate it. And we have the individual eye control. This one is for the left eye, this one is for the right eye. And then to control the shape, we have these little controls to control the shape. Of course, we also have additional level of the set-driven key, SDK, that we will have some attributes, and we can use these attributes to control the shape. So I have all these attributes set up, so if it's sad, it's sad, if it's angry, it's angry, kind of like just some rough shapes. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do this, so let's get started. Alright, I've entirely cleared out my scene and we'll start from scratch. So what we want is some kind of head that we can work with, so let's create a cube, make the size around 15, and let's assign a color, so let's use the Lambert, change the color to orange color, and select all the edges, bevel the edge, let's drop the offset down a little bit. Alright, so when we press 3 on the keyboard, we get this this cube. Sorry, where's my front z-axis? It's here. Okay. And so that's our head. So we shall call this head underscore geometry, GEO. Put it in a layer, a display layer, and let's call this layer head underscore layer. And we shall put it on R, which stands for reference, and we cannot touch it anymore. So if you want to touch it, we can uncheck this R and we can click on it. Alright, let's hide the head. So alright, let's start creating our curve now. We'll create a NURB circle, just go to create NURB circle, and then we'll have the circle face the front. So we'll go to rotate X and rotate 90 degrees so it faces the front. The front, it will be the front, the positive z-axis. We have 8 CVs now, which doesn't give us much control over the eye shape, so let me just change that to 16 sections, and we will have 16 CVs. And what we can do is to select this curve and go to edit curves, selection, and cluster the curve, so that we have clusters on each CV and we can use these clusters as our controls. So you see Maya has created like many cluster handles, and strangely I have no idea why this happens, but we get 19 controls for 16 CVs, so that's kind of strange. We will see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and that's done. But we have 17, 18, and 19 all on the same CV, so that's a little bit strange. We'll just select the last 3 clusters and delete it, and there is no issue there. We have 16 clusters for this curve. So if we move our cluster, we will essentially affect the CVs. So now we have world control. We have the cluster handles in the world space, and then we can use this for our rigging. So let's go through and rename some stuff now. This curve shall be called our left eye underscore curve. Alright, now we can create our eye control. Let's just create a curve. The same thing, we'll face it to the front, and we'll make it larger this time. Right about this big. And then name it left eye control. So we'll delete its history and freeze transformations, and we have our eye control. Also we'll add a locator on top of this controller. Left icon, we'll just create a locator, and we'll call this locator left icon home now, HMNUL, and then we'll parent the controller under the home now. So up to this stage, we have our eye controller that does nothing now, and our locator here. So we can hide that for now, and then we'll set up some controls to control the cluster, which in turn controls our curves. So we want to set up a simple, small little setup here. We'll get a nerve circle, scale it down, duplicate it, and scale it slightly bigger, and then create a locator. Create a locator. And this locator will be the shaper for our eye. So not all the eyes, not all the 2D eyes will look the same. So we want to have some kind of control over the shape of the eye as part of the rig itself. So we can call this the offset, off. We can call this the controller, con, and we can call this the set driven key, SDK. So we'll parent the controller under the SDK, and then we'll parent the SDK under the offset locator, and then we'll position match this guy to the cluster here. So we'll hold V and then snap to the cluster. So let's take a look. It's perfectly snapped to the cluster, and then we'll rotate it to face the front. So let's rotate the off 90 degrees on the x-axis to face the front. So now we have it, and we'll tell the controller to control the cluster. So we'll select our controller and select the cluster, and then do a constraint, a point constraint. So after we have added that point constraint, we'll notice that our controller controls our cluster, and then our set driven keys controls the controller. So if we have another eye control, which we have already hidden, we can add some attributes to that and then do some set driven key controls for this eye. So we'll repeat this step for all the 16 clusters. So it can be done this way. You can just snap it and then blah 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 blah, and then you rename it. And to rename it, this cluster is called cluster 1, so I'll call this the cluster 1 offset, cluster 1 handle, SDK, cluster 1 handle, controller, so on and so forth. So let's do that. So now I have all the offsets around that controls the SDK, that controls the controller, and then it controls the CVs, the cluster, and then the cluster controls the CVs, right? And all these offsets, I can place them under the eye controller. So if you unhide our home now, we will see that we have locator mess. No, it's not a mess, we can tidy it up easily. So okay, now we have a mess of locators and controllers and set driven key controllers and blah blah blah. So we want to be able to manage all this stuff. So under the eye control, I'm gonna add two attributes, edit, add attribute, and we can call this the SDK visibility. And then it will be from 0 to 1. 0, 1, 0. Okay, and then we will also add the control visibility. Con visibility 0, 1, 0. Add. Also want to control the visibility of our offset, so let's add another attribute, of visibility 0, 1, 0. And for this, our SDK, we go window, animation editor, no, general editors and connection editor. and then load it on our left. This is our eye control. We have our 3 attributes here, the SDK. We'll do the SDK first. So let's start from number 1. This is our SDK. We want to connect this attribute, SDK visibility, to this attribute, the SDK's visibility. Yeah, so we'll select our SDK and load it on the right, and then we'll just click on this on the left and click on the visibility on the right, and it's connected. So immediately it disappears. So if we turn this on now, it appears and disappears and appears and disappears. So let's do this for the rest of our SDKs. Reload right, visibility. Let's just turn this off so we'll know when it's connected. So reload right, visibility, select this one, reload right, visibility, select this one, reload right, visibility, and then we'll do this for all the SDKs. And for the offset, it will be the same thing, just to the offset value, and for the con visibility, it will be the same thing, just to the con attribute. So I'll just fast forward the process here. And so we have our SDK visibilities. If you turn it to 0, it will be 0. If you turn our con to 0, it will be hidden, and we'll turn our off to 0, and all the locators will be hidden. So we don't want to see all our offset controls for now. So let's turn that off, and I've gone ahead and added these attributes like perplex, surprise, sad, angry, and a bunch of stuff that you can be creative about this as to what kind of expressions you want to achieve. They are set to 0 to 1, so this will be our set driven control. So if we turn on our set driven key visibility, we can use this surprise, for example, and do a surprised eye shape. But I'll show you guys how to do that later. Let's do some parenting now. Let's group all our cluster handles into a group. Let's just group them up, and then we'll call this group the left underscore I underscore NOT for no touch, because we're not gonna touch it anymore. And then we'll hide it. Alright, we haven't created the geometry for our eye, so that this curve still runs as a curve on its own and it doesn't have any kind of eye geometry. So let's do that now. We'll go to surfaces here, and then we'll first select the curve and go to surfaces and go to bevel plus, and then we'll get this shape. We'll change the out style curve to convex out. We'll just play with these settings a little bit to see if you can get some kind of rounded shape. So now if we move our SDK controls, we can get better feedback on what our eye shape looks like. So let's just rename this stuff. This will be our left eye underscore geometry, and then we'll group this stuff up. So left eye geometry, left eye no touch, and left eye no touch, left eye geometry, and left eye curve. You can group them up and call them left eye geo underscore group. So let's group them up. Left eye geo underscore group. Sorry, the no touch should be outside. So we'll group all these three segments here and group them up and call it the left eye group. So we have our left eye group. Our left eye rig is done. But you can see here that there's some double transformation when we moved our left eye group. That's because our no touch is not meant to be touched. So if we move this guy, it will tell the no touch group to also translate in X, and then the no touch group has stuff that controls the shape of the curve. So what we want to do is go to the no touch and look at its attributes. We have the inherits transform turned on. We can uncheck it. Oh, also our IGEO group has the same effect, so let's turn that off. So now let's recap a little bit about the grouping. We have our our no touch group, our eye geometry group, and our entire rig control setup here, which controls our geometry and the no touch. So for these two groups, the no touch, we have to turn off inherit transform, and for the eye geometry group, we also turn off the inherit transform. So if we move our left eye group, which is the parent of all these three parts, they will not move. And we have our eye control, we have our visibility controls. We can turn off our SDK, turn it on. We can turn on all of the controls that we have here, but we will turn them all off for now. And then the next step is to do our set driven keys. So what we have here, we can turn on our set driven key visibility controls. Okay, before we do that, what I want to show you is that our offset visibility controls, we can shape our eye to look more like maybe thinner eyes. So we can push this guy in by 0.15. It doesn't have to be accurate unless you want it to, so it's entirely up to you. So this will be 0.15, and then maybe these three locators can be further up. Further down, and maybe these two go up. So we have our beady eye. Let's assign a full black color maybe. So assign a favorite material. We'll use a blend. We will call this black matte material, and then turn it black. And so now we have our beady eye, and we can use our shapers to shape this eye. Oh, we have already done that. And now we can do our set driven keys. So let's select our eye control, and then turn off our shaper nodes, and turn on our SDK control. For this demo, I wouldn't do all of the expressions listed here, but I'll do one of them, maybe one of the eye blinks. So we'll go to animation, animate, set driven key, and we click set. So we want in the set driven key window, we have a driver and the driven. So we want this to be our driver, obviously, because our driver has all these attributes. So if we turn on the smiling eye close, it will kind of like blink. From 0 is no effect, and 1 is the full effect. So this will be our driver. We will load the driver, and then all the rest of these set driven keys are the driven. So let's select them. Boom, 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 boom. These are the driven, so load driven. So we have all our SDK controls here, and then we will control all its translation. Highlight all this 3 attributes that translate X, Y, and Z, and then we'll choose our smiling close, and then let's key. In fact, we can key it for all our expressions. Key surprised, key sad, key. And so if we double click on our control, if we turn the smiling close to 1, and then we'll shape it now. So before we move on to do anything else, we set the key. Set key as in the set driven key window. We click on key to set a key on our set driven key. So our smile close, on 1 it has this shape, and on 0 it has this shape. So if we do this, we have our blink. So yeah, you can sculpt any shape you need for all these attributes. You can add more attributes if you want. I can add some, think of expression, maybe shocked. So let's add an attribute, call it shocked, and 0, 1, 0 and add, and then we have shocked, and then we can use all these SDKs to sculpt a shocked shape. So we're done with our left eye. We can duplicate this for our right eye. So in order to duplicate this and with all the connections connected, we have to select our left eye group and edit, duplicate special, and duplicate the input graph. Duplicate, and then we have exact duplicate of our left eye rig here, just that we can rename this all to right eye rig. So let's delete this one and change this to right RT. So what we want is to search and replace everything that's under our right eye group from LF to RT. So let's go to modify, search and replace names, and for the entire hierarchy below, we'll search for LFs and replace with RTs from left to right. And so we've done that, and we gotta also change because if we select these two controllers and then we do our smile close, we'll have this shape, and maybe we want them exactly mirroring off each other. So we have to take this right eye group and turn this to scale X to -1, and then we'll have it mirrored. This is not the best way to do things. This is just a quick way. We can also set it up entirely separately and then do it manually, but it's up to you. There are pros and cons to both approaches. So what happens now is for both these controllers, we can turn off the SDK visibility, and then we can hand this over to the animators. And if they actually want to further animate some controls, they don't use the SDK, they use the controllers. So if they turn it on, and then they can control all this to get the custom eye shapes, and this can be used on top of the SDK. So if these two eye controllers have this smile close triggered, we can still use our controllers to further tweak the eye shape in case maybe it's too symmetrical, maybe it's blah, 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 for whatever reason. You can tweak the eye shape. So let's undo that. So we have our left eye and our right eye. Let's show our grid, display grid. We want our left eye to be probably here and our right eye to be here. So that's 3 units to the left and 3 units to the right. Let's unhide our head layer so that we can see our head, and our head is off the center. So let's move our head backwards. So that we can see. Okay, because of the mirroring, there's some issue here. What we can do is to cheat and move our geometry forward a little bit. This shouldn't affect the rig itself. And so yeah, it's better to turn this entire technique into some script and then rig both sides symmetrically. Let's turn off the grid now. I'll have the eye more to the top of the head. Let's lock it up again. So now what we need is it's not always that we want to move these two controls all the time. It's a bit troublesome, so we have a bigger controller, the main eye controller, and then we'll use that for our translation. So we'll create a nerf circle and rotate it to the front as usual, and then turn it to 4 segments and linear, maybe like this, 6 segments. Scale it up. Then this will be our main eye control. So we'll freeze the transformations and delete its history, and we'll rename this as the eye controller icon. We can parent these two eye groups under the eye controller, parent, and then we have our eye controller. So this is our entire eye rig, and let's just add a few more controls for our head. So I just created a new nerf circle, also use linear and snap to the center of this cube. Maybe I don't want it so round, so I'll add a center line here, here, and here. So I'll snap this to the center of the cube, to the bottom of the cube. We just have the whole V and middle mouse button, and then scale it up a little bit. And this will be the base control of our head. And then I'll freeze transform and delete its history and rename this as the head controller. And of course the head geometry goes under the head controller parent, so the head controller controls the head, but it also needs to control the eye controller. So it goes under, and there you have it. So we have gotten this eye rig from scratch, and we can do some test animation with this, and there we have it. So now what we can do is I can do some little test animation to show you guys how this rig can be used. But for the animation demonstration, I think I'll leave it for the next video, because this video has been running for a while now. So you guys can just click over to the next video to watch the animation process.